Hi, everybody. Welcome to The New Normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and today is Monday. It's President's Day, in spite of the fact of our president. Um, I'm excited to introduce you to a friend of mine that I met through the Litecoin community. Um, Jeff, he's known as Litecoin Leader, and he is a brilliant mind in cryptocurrency. And we're going to find out how he got started into cryptocurrency and what his background is and how you can learn more from him now. So I'll be right back with my buddy, Litecoin Leader. Hi there, Jeff. Happy Monday. How are you?
Doing good, Lisa. Good to be here.
Good. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I wanted to have you on and just talk about, we've known each other for a few years now and met through the Litecoin community and through Bitcoin Ben, I think specifically was kind of how we connected the most probably, but have met, I don't know, through lots of other people too, I guess, just this whole wild crypto community and how it's drawn different people to each other and different projects. I had Divi for a while and ran a few nodes, and I know you're a Divi fan as well. So we bumped into each other, I guess, in a couple different rooms. But where did you start with all this? Have you always been involved in finance or freedom thing for you? What's kind of your history and where did you get drawn into cryptocurrency?
Well, I've always been someone that looks for a plan B, no pun intended.
Okay.
Just other options. I did real estate for a while. I was a sports writer for a while. I've done some startup companies, but I've always looked for a secondary option just because I worked in the telecom sector for 20 plus years and just constant layoffs, every 3 or 4 years looking for a new job. And I'm like, there's got to be a backup plan. Because like this uncertainty is just crazy. And I used to live in the DC area, and that the government would go up and down with their layoffs, and you'd hear about it. Even if you weren't directly affected, it would affect the community. So that's where I got into real estate investing. And then 2008 washed most of us out. And I looked and said, isn't there something better? And about 6 or 7 years ago, a friend of a friend told me, was visiting in, and he told me how he'd gone through Asia, just paid for it all with crypto for a month. Like, okay, I've heard about Bitcoin. I've heard about some people, I was big into fantasy sports and had friends that did it, plus online poker, and they use Bitcoin that way. So I was starting to learn more about it, but I didn't really get into it until I started to hear about real world applications. And the more I dug into it, the more it struck a chord with me, because I had studied a lot of economics and finances, and I've always been interested in that sort of thing. And the freedom aspect, the liberty aspect, and the fact that you could be your own bank. And it really addressed a lot of things that I wanted to be involved in. And I came to be Litecoin Leader because I was the first coin I bought when I was looking at, on Coinbase, there was Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. I didn't really like Ethereum at the time, really liked Bitcoin, but Litecoin was cheaper and it seemed like just a clone of Bitcoin. So that was the first thing I bought. Stuck with that for a while, still have some to this day, but I was always an altcoin guy, just looking about, I learned a lot about the Bitcoin and the crypto, but I also looked at the altcoins too. So that's how I came to be about 6 years and been running strong ever since.
So what are your thoughts on, because there is this whole conversation of, why Litecoin has the price action that it does or doesn't, I guess, because it has the proof of work. It has all the things, it is the copy of Bitcoin, exact copy of Bitcoin, except that it's never been down. And now it has Mimblewimble and the NFTs and the gaming, all these things. What's your theory on why Litecoin isn't moving
Well,
in the way that you would think it would?
There's a couple of reasons why. One is it's just not a sexy coin right now. It's not an NFT. It's not a metaverse. It's not DeFi. The use case is really the issue. And the use case is that, when I started, it was about 50 Litecoin for a Bitcoin. Now it's almost 300. So it's gone down 6 times compared to Bitcoin. And yes, it goes up and down with the dollar, but that's not a good metric. You want to compare
Right.
every altcoin to Bitcoin. But it's really the use case. The use case is when, for both Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, when the banks are not shut down and we're actually doing our own means of exchange, that's when you use Litecoin. When you're actually
That's
buying
right.
something, when the point of sale stores or the point of sale devices can take Litecoin directly, and we're not using Litecoin cards, or we're not using other cards to spoof the Swift system or the point of sales and the Visa network. Litecoins and Bitcoin Cash, their time has not come yet, but it's coming soon.
Interesting. I saw an article the other day that was talking about, or maybe I was watching a video. I can't remember now if I was reading or watching, but was an argument, or there was a point in the argument that triggered something for me, and you just brought it up, that the gaming, or like it was like, the NFTs came in, and then it was DeFi, and now the metaverse and gaming came in, and those were almost like disruptors within the crypto space, although crypto is a disruptor itself to, traditional finance. But then there's disruptors within that, and that may be part of why things like Litecoin, where it's proof of work, and it is actually, its use case would be for transaction to be used as a currency. um, why that would be a disruptor to it, because it's all been about the shiny, and the Oculus goggles, and the NFTs, and the metaverse, and all that kind of stuff. Do you see those disruptors within cryptocurrency affecting earlier projects in that negative way?
Well, it really just depends on the association. I mean, Litecoin had a good run for a couple of years ago when they got started. Got involved with the UFC, and there was endorsements there, but that's really fallen by the wayside. So that the Litecoin is just not that prominent anymore. So now it's the crypto.coms, it's the NFTs. If NFTs had been launched on Litecoin would be going strong. But
Mhm.
instead, the platform of use for a lot of coins that started really back in the last ICO run in 2017, 2018 was Ethereum. So that's why Ethereum is getting so much traffic and so much upswing and uptick. But it's really just because you have to use Ethereum, not because you want to. Prices are too high,
Well, yeah.
and the fees are too high, and the traffic is just too bad. But other things are catching up to Ethereum. So Ethereum's being challenged by your Cardanos, your Polkadots, your Thetas, your Zills, your Atoms, all these different smart contract platforms. Whereas Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash are kind of off to the side, just waiting for the banks to collapse and saying, "Hey, we can step in and handle that because we're on the Lightning
Lightning.
Network. We can handle this stuff.
Well,
We can."
Litecoin has OmniLite, which is a NFT platform as well. So it could, or it does, but it's not being used, which is, I guess, the issue, or not as much. But there was recently, was it yesterday, the OpenSea hack?
Mhm.
Um, and I can't remember the numbers on it, some ungodly number of
Yeah, I didn't see the amount.
NFT
Yeah.
hacks. Yeah, it was huge. So that makes me think that more of that Ethereum, that would affect Ethereum and things like that more, and have people looking for other solutions, but maybe not. I don't know.
Over 90% of NFTs and DeFi is on Ethereum. So Ethereum is really a
Mhm.
utility token. You use it because you have to use it if you want to be in those spaces. But as Polkadot and Cardano and other players on smart contracts, Matic as well, as they start to contend for like that position, I don't see any new projects that would start now would ever start on the Ethereum blockchain. They'd use one of the other ones just for the
Right.
reasons we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Between the fees and the speed, and then, I still am just blown away that Coachella chose Solana to put their NFTs on for the. I mean, it's the largest concert that I know of annually. They have, I think it's like over 150,000 or 200,000 people attend. And I just thought, and you put it on the blockchain that crashed 3 times this last year. I mean, it's going to be like a fire island again. Um, I can't, I would think that they would have really looked into having something more reliable with that number of people that are going to be using that, you know?
They're all trying to
Um,
run before they walk. And it's just like 2017 all over again with a lot of these newer projects. You're trying to get a metaverse and how hold concerts there or sell tickets as NFTs. It's really pushing the edge of what's available to be usable now. I mean, if people go and play
mm,
Decentraland, it doesn't look that great, but it's a $4 billion project. So eventually, the valuations and the performance are supposed to catch up and kind of line up. But Metaverse, NFTs, DeFi, it's all about 2 years old or less. So you got to give it a little bit of time to
to
mature, and
mature.
you're going to stub your toe.
Interesting, interesting. Well, one of the things that you're working on currently and that I'm a part of that I've jumped in full force, and that's part of the reason I've started doing these Monday interviews, is that I want to bring the Crypto Confidential community to my community. My husband and I signed up for it. There's a link in the description of this video. And I'm working on my website, and it should be done any day now. And I'll have a page on there to be able to contribute and have more information about Crypto Confidential. But that was something. Can you kind of tell us how that got started, what the idea was behind that, and who all's involved in that?
Sure. So Patrick Divvy Daddy, who I think you had on last week, and I,
Yeah.
we were all over the country last year talking to many people, and we get questions all day long, like whenever we're at events or even when we're holding like just talking to regular people. But we hear the same thing over and over again, and we said, how do we leverage the people that people want to talk to us? How do we leverage our time best to reach people? Because if I want, one of my goals when I wrote this year for back in January was I want to impact 10,000 lives. Well, I can't do that on a one-on-one call an hour a day. I don't, there's not enough hours in the year. So how do
Mhm.
I reach more people? Well, YouTube is one, my website, my free website's another. But if we want to share our knowledge to a crypto audience, we took that, Patrick and I needed some vehicle. We were thinking about doing like a meeting every other month, but then we went to Omar at Viva Capital. He said, well, why not start a newsletter and then build from there, maybe even start doing meetups once we get to a larger mass. And that's what we decided to do. So Patrick and I pretty much been leading off the newsletter with Michelle Harper, who's our crypto attorney. She's the ace in the hole because she understands crypto and she understands the legal stuff. That is a rare find, and she's very, very talented for like
Brilliant,
not just
brilliant
for
lady.
crypto, but
Yeah.
for all legal stuff. So she's great, and Omar has great visibility across all the different financial aspects and
Mhm.
international life. So you get four good flavors plus guest contributors. But we put the newsletter once a month. We all contribute an article. We actually added a few more bonus features to get things started in February. And we do an AMA every other week, like twice a month. Plus, we have the forums where you can ask questions in between. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of community aspects that we really like because that's what really the other thing that we learned last year is that people are missing community. They want a community. They want to network to each other, talk to people that have similar thought processes, and just be able to hang out with people that feel like they're not alone because they're not.
Right, right. That's one thing that media is definitely misleading people on, is that there's less of us and there's a bunch of them. And then, we go to these meetups, and that's one thing with Westwood and I doing, our meetups, and then, going to Ben's and going to Bix's and trying to really be there for the community. There's a lot more us out there. I heard something on the news. Had to run my husband to go pick up a car, and they were talking this, and half the country is going to think that, and I was like, it's not half and half. I don't believe that we're a divided country, and that it's, when I talk to people, we're mostly all for the most part on the same page. There might be some things that we don't agree on everything, but there's a lot more things that we do agree on than this. So the newsletter has been incredible. My very first newsletter, I got uh, my bolt binder here. I swap it out with my book bags for my homeschool, so I've got my books over here. to my little book bag. But so you guys also provide a binder that so people can have the tangible copy as well. The message from the publisher was a great first issue. It said, how to protect your crypto wealth from government overreach, confiscation, and exorbitant taxes. It's like Omar was a mind reader or something. Because this came out, what, in January or beginning of February? This was the 1st of February that this one came out.
Right.
And 6 crypto IRA mistakes to avoid at all costs. That was by Michelle. And my husband and I have already had one just brief phone call with her and have a plan to set up some things with her that are going to be helpful for our family and our plan. And then putting methods behind the madness. This one is what I want you to dig into for us a little bit more. You know, we don't want to give away your brilliance for free, but I want people to know why this has so much value. But you did an article on how to go from over 10,000 altcoins to 10. And then you also did another one about how to properly build an altcoin portfolio. So that was just getting started. That wasn't even all of the, and then the 10 crypto commandments, upcoming events, how to legally reduce or eliminate your crypto capital gains tax. I mean, this is just all the very beginning. When I got it, I sat down and read this all to my husband one night. It's very romantic.
I'm sure Charles loved that.
He loved it. Yeah, he loved every minute of it. But it's exciting for me. It's really empowering because, you know, in traditional finance, you're taught that you're not smart enough to know what to do with your money, that you need a financial advisor for you, that you need to just hand your money over to a bank, that you don't need to, you know, understand it. Even when I was talking with legislatures and about things with our budget for, you know, the government, they were like, if I had to explain it to you, it's just too complicated. It would take too long. And I was like, if it's too complicated, then we need to burn it to the ground and start over, because everybody should be able to understand it. It should be simplified. And you guys do a great job of really just breaking things down. And so as these altcoins came on in 2017 and people started becoming overwhelmed, because it wasn't just Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, how did you kind of come at this? Because you have a really great process of organizing and looking at different projects and breaking them down. And I love that you teach people how to fish. You don't make the decisions for them. So it's very empowering for people to get the newsletter, because they can then make that choice and learn the process and apply it to other things in their life. They can learn the process and continue to apply it as new projects come in.
Yeah, it was quite the challenge. So Omar and the rest of the team basically said, "Hey, we want you to pick out the top 5 coins for the year." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem." But I started sitting down, like, how am I going to do this? So what I did, and I laid this out. So I basically just let's laid out what's my approach. So, and then I thought maybe people want to hear about the approach too. So that became the 10,000 coins down to 10 discussion. So I just decided what categories I thought were going to be big in 2022. And then I try to find projects that I knew, because I know a lot of coins and a lot of projects that address those areas. And I said, this is a leader, this is a good one. And then this covers that, you know, checks that box. So I had like a little box of like, here's 5 things I want to cover. And here's like the things I like about coins a lot. Like, for example, I talk about this a lot on YouTube anyway, so no problem saying it here, but I like platform coins. And those are like layer 1 coins that you can build on, like Ethereum. So,
Okay.
but I don't like Ethereum because it's crowded. So I'm looking for other projects to be built on. That's how I discovered Matic last year, which was solving the whole Ethereum issue by having that layer 2 on top of layer 1. So now they have a layer 1 as well. So coins that and if those who followed me last year, like I talked a lot of videos on Altcoinopoly, the game I introduced last year, where I introduced people to about 35 different coins. And I just showed like the method of like, if you give me a platform coin, I get it for 1 coin, I can address many. Like Ethereum has thousands of coins on it. So essentially, if you buy a coin like Chainlink, you're investing in Chainlink and the underlying blockchain, which is Ethereum. So, but why not? If you don't know what app in the app store is going to be the killer app, buy the whole store. And that's what I'm saying by buy a platform coin, buy an Atom, a Zill, a Theta, a Matic, those kinds of coins that have their own blockchains. That way, for about 20 coins, you can be exposed to thousands all at once.
That's a really smart way of looking at that. Also, I know my husband loves Zilliqa, and he did the whole staking GZIL and got the GZIL drops and whatever. And I guess some of that is over, but
Mhm.
is that something you look at as well when you're looking for some of those coins? Is which ones allow staking and other benefits to the coins? Do you factor that in on that portion, or is that later in the process, or not a factor at all?
I have probably about 20 different criteria. I haven't numbered them
Okay.
all, but probably for 20 different things when I'm going to dig in deep into a coin. But like first things, I'm like use case. Tell me why the coin exists. Like start there. Like why does this coin need to be? If you can't tell me in an elevator speech in 30 seconds, why do I need like Litecoin? It's the digital silver to digital gold. Okay, I understand that. Digital gold, Bitcoin, Ethereum, smart contracts. I get those ideas. But if you're going to tell me it's a layer 7 that does NFTs and on Rarible through liquidity pools, I'm like, no one's going to understand that.
Okay.
That's just throwing a bunch of buzzwords that I don't quite understand. But if you can explain why this coin exists, like, oh, this is solving a real world problem. Matic and Loopring, 2 coins I had in my altcoinopoly, were 2 coins that were solving the Ethereum congestion problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that we need that. Okay, that's cool. Let's go get that. So if you can say like this is a use case, and the other thing I'd like to look for is barriers to entry. I don't like sushi swap, Sunday swap, yam swap, pick a food swap, because anybody can build a swap site in relatively ease, and there's hundreds of them, and it's a fractured environment. I like coins that bring it together. And back in when I was talking about the game, I like a coin like Reef because they're trying to put all of DeFi under one roof, and that to me is a viable use case because there's a ton of DeFi out there, but they're just all the liquidity pools are separated. If we could get them all under one roof, that would be great. So that's why I like the Reef project for that aspect.
Interesting. I know there's one that my husband's just obsessed, Fibo, and you can swap every coin, like it's every cross chain is in one house.
That's
And to my
FIBO.
knowledge, yeah, FIBO, it's the only one that I know of that you can do every cross chain
Yeah,
in one location. But it truly is like decentralized, so it doesn't have like a marketing company. It doesn't have like people shilling it or whatever. So like nobody really knows about it. Um, but it's it's one of those things. I guess the use case will drive it when the use is needed. So maybe that's a timing thing. And I think with what's going on in Canada, and now you're seeing more and more things like that happening, with the announcements in Russia, whether they're real or bluffs. I think the market's going to be affected either way. Um, so I'm just curious to see how this is all going to kind of play out over the next, few months.
yeah. I mean, we got a huge endorsement for Bitcoin by the fact that you could actually go around GoFundMe, and they proved that example in a real world
Mhm.
use case. So that was quite the remarkable thing that just sort of happened, and no one that didn't need a marketing campaign. And
But
you know,
it didn't really affect the market that much.
well, the market's not going to be affected because the market is manipulated. The
Um,
on-chain price, I'm sorry, the price in the centralized exchanges are the issues. If you noticed that there was a theme at the Super Bowl, all the ads were centralized exchanges, pretty much.
oh,
So
okay.
those were what they were putting forth, and people were not happy with the ads. They thought were lackluster. Well, 3 years ago, we've been jumping for joy to see crypto at all mentioned on
At
Super
all.
Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
We had
it's there.
5 or 6 ads at the Super Bowl this year that were crypto.
Yeah, and they're almost all centralized exchanges, and I think those are the ones that are actually hurting because 75% of all Bitcoin is in cold storage. There's not much liquidity on the exchanges, so the prices that are on
True.
there that they're
Sure.
manipulating the price so that people
Mhm.
can get in for, or the powers that be can get Bitcoin for cheap because and by I think it was like 2029, all 99% of all Bitcoin is going to be mined by 2029. So we know it's
Yeah.
2140, but that's for 1%, that last 1%. So it's a race for the next 8 years to get as much Bitcoin as possible. And by 2030, 99% Bitcoin is going to be possessed, hopefully not in centralized exchanges anymore. And it's going to be on to the next coin, and it's just a matter of a race at that point. So I think chasing mining at this point is probably a mistake. It's much cheaper to go after and buy it, or look for other projects that are going to compete with Bitcoin.
Interesting. Do you see, what do you see as the next project competing with Bitcoin, or do you think we'll know?
I think we're going to look for something that is just going to explode in a different sector. So the things that have happened last couple of years are what basically have been tangential markets or blue oceans. That's, they're still crypto, but it's like, oh, let's get art. Now we have NFTs, but NFTs also have applicability into other documentation. And I'm starting to see them that they're actually, right now, the art is driving NFTs and the value was kind of secondary. They hope that there's value for the art. It's starting to reverse, which I like. That's what I've really been talking about. The NBA, for example, is selling VIP passes as NFTs. So now they already have a package that you could buy, and with intrinsic value, is represented by the NFT. Same as that house that's sold in Florida. You're starting to see deeds and real property and real tangible assets that
Yeah,
have
and
value.
I'm sorry.
Good.
Yeah, Satoshi Shawn was talking about this yesterday on Miss Teen Crypto, and I saw the same thing. This is really interesting, and I was going to have Mom come on and talk about this too with my future son-in-law about generationally how we see NFTs so differently, because she and her generation, really values like true physical art, and she sees how the degens or whatever you want to call them are valuing these NFTs as digital art. And I'm seeing NFTs for the contract value, which is what Satoshi Shawn was talking about. Is no, guys, this is going to validate your Rolex watch is real. It's
Mhm.
not going to be about, it's going to validate that really is a G. Harvey painting original or a Picasso original, that it's not a fake. It's not going to be about the piece of art. It's going to be that it validates that it's an original, or it's going to be the contract or the license, the certificate of ownership of your home, of your car, of your marriage, or of your divorce, whatever. Like that's what the value is to me of the NFT, is the documentation of the chain of custody, And so I thought it was really interesting just looking at that generationally, um, where and who saw the value and how they looked at NFTs generationally, just so different. And it sounds like you kind of see it the same way, with the value being in the contracts and stuff.
Yeah, NFTs just represents real world items that already have value. Then it's easy to translate value. But if you're going to take an 8-bit drawing that looks like it came off the Atari 2600 and try to sell that for 100 ETH, I don't get that. Doesn't make any sense to
Right.
me.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I think that's where Mom was coming from. So I get that as well. And then my future son-in-law is like, he was getting the whole scarcity thing, um, and validating it. I mean, I think everybody has a point and a perspective. I just thought it was really interesting how we all saw it really differently. But um, and I like that you're saying that the next Bitcoin won't be another Bitcoin. It'll be in a different sea or market, or a different technology. It'll be something that's evolved. That's a little
yeah,
bit different.
if you were to push me up against the wall and say, what's it going to be? I would say the one I think it's going to be is Theta. I really think Theta is going to be the one, because they're driving bandwidth, which we all need. We all need video to the home. And the two, Mitch Liu and his partner, they both have patents in VR, and they're driving to be able to do VR to the home. Not many people talk about it because it's not available yet, but that's really the source of like that's the driving force behind Theta. They have the most patents of any project. It's a strong project.
And that's that whole metaverse Oculus goggle thing, is the VR experience or whatever.
Yes
Even if,
and no, because Theta really can be. So I'll give a real world example of, let's
okay.
say you're watching UFC 297, whatever number it is, and it's a pay per view. What if your TV had a wallet in it, which you had to have the NFT that proved that you bought the rights to see that video? So there's authenticity that you're allowed to watch that broadcast. Theta can do that with Samsung and the wallet that's in the Samsung TV. That's what's coming next.
Okay. I mean, I thought I guess they've had it. Well, I guess they've just been talking about it for so long, but they haven't implemented it.
Yeah, the partnership that's coming, they've got World Poker Tour, they've got a bunch on Theta.tv, and they used to work with YouTube and Twitch, so they understand the issues and legacy issues with YouTube and on-demand video. But as more and more people work from home and are home, like home networks, and not going to the theater, not going to the movies, they're going to want to see entertainment in your house, and that's going to require more and more bandwidth. So to me, the metaverse play is more about like who's running the underside of everything that's driving it.
And then the takeaway is that then instead of the old 90s concert t-shirt, you have your NFT that hey, I was there, I attended this fight, and
Right.
who wants to buy my NFT that I saw the fight, right?
So everyone at home will have some kind of digital art display, picture frame, whatever, and just load their NFTs that could just cycle through and just show like, oh, there's my Super Bowl ticket. There's my ticket to go see, Def Leppard or Anthrax or whatever, whoever band it is. But instead of having that old that faded T-shirt that you maybe turn into a pillowcase or a quilt, now you've got the NFT on your wall.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. Yeah, pretty wild, pretty wild. Well, I know that we both have been asked to join the very DAO, and were accepted in that, voted in, and we're working together to start that YouTube channel that's supposed to launch here pretty soon. We can't get into too much about it, but how do you feel about how that's going and being part of that project and all that?
Well, so far so good. I think getting behind the scenes with another group, another team is helpful because they have different history, different exposure. But we have like when you meet a lot of people in crypto, like we have common ground. We all agree on certain things to do and not do, and we all have different exposure. But we can meet like, okay, we all like Veritasium. We think it's the right product going forward. What do we want to accomplish? And then we just work towards that goal. But I think we're getting there. And we've talked about this, like the crypto Twitter needs to grow up, and the DAO just recently there's a bit of a spat on Twitter, and the DAO actually issued an apology, which is extremely rare on Twitter. Most people just delete tweets or just move on. But the DAO just went out there and said, we apologize for not acting professionally. We want to move forward and put our best foot forward. However they worded it, was really good, and
it was very professional.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to remember. I've never been one for mission statements, but the fact that we all say like, "Hey, we're trying to further the partnerships and further crypto," tearing things down or poking at each other is not going to be the way to do it. So let's all work together. So that's the right method and the right message to carry going forward.
Yeah, I agree. That recent article where the New York Stock Exchange was coming in with their patent attorneys and lawyers and big wigs, and it's like, specifically to the open source code world, and they're kind of like, well, you didn't patent it, guess I will, and I think it's time for crypto Twitter to have that conversation. It's been kind of this pie in the sky, we built it and it's going to be this way and whatever, but I think the reality is going to be that the big boys are coming, and they're here. They're not here to play. They're bringing, they're bringing their big guns and their big tools, and it's gonna hit crypto Twitter hard, and it is time to grow up.
It is,
and it's
follow
time.
money.
If you want big business, to be a part of what you're doing, then you have to act professionally. And so I think you're going to see across crypto, those projects that behave professionally and engage with people professionally are going to rise up through this as well. So I think it's going to be really interesting over these next 2 years, year and a half, 2 years.
And
Um,
it's interesting you mentioned the patents because I talked about two stories on one of the videos I made today. I think it was the U.S. Patent Office like said that the Bitcoin mentions in patent applications last quarter spiked. It was 155 different Bitcoin patents. The previous high was 80. So it's
wow.
going up a lot. There's a huge interest, and Veritasium has two, but lots of other projects like you mentioned Theta, and there's
Yeah.
Dragon Chain, Divi. Several products have at least one patent. So you do want to protect your rights, but you need to think about it this way. What if Veritasium and Reggie had not patented? Would you really want JP Morgan or AT&T or
Oh my
Comcast
gosh.
owning this patent? Can you imagine what that would be like? Like, oh,
Yeah,
we
it'd
own
be awful.
DeFi. Good luck. It was shutting it
Yeah.
down. JP Morgan would shut down DeFi, say, go back to the banks.
Yeah. It would be, thank goodness somebody that is a good human that really wants the best for humanity is the owner of these patents. And I think it will be, overall, it will be best for, humanity, crypto, for the individuals, and that's one thing, like in these conversations, they're really looking out for the token holders and for humanity and what's going on. So I think it's going to be really, really, really good. And I've learned so much. My gosh. I mean, it's been a learning curve.
Everybody
There's
continues to learn.
yeah, but everybody, if you want to, you sure can. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Well, what do you see for I mean, I feel like we're just getting started this year, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty hot summer. I feel like with the um the financial institutions are, there's not even laws being passed. This announcement, was it officially announced today about the WEF um, chick is going to just take over for Trudeau. I guess he's stepping down Wednesday or something, and she's just going to step in. And I'm like, there wasn't even an election or anything. Like,
Yeah.
what's even going on? Who's running that country? And I don't think the people are going to be okay with that. Um, and even then, she's the one making these announcements and locking down their bank accounts and all this. I just see more and more people looking for those options to have control of their own wealth and their assets. Do you see that pushing more and more of these, uh, not only crypto, but silver, gold, things like that? People can have wealth in their own possession.
That's the way it's going to be. We're going to go back to, the 1800 style. I mean, the stuff that's built now has been so corrupted. They're going to have to make something new. You're going to have to, like when you make a new building in Manhattan, you have to tear down the old one first.
Mm.
That's where we're at. So we have to watch the system crumble to build a new system. Right now we have two systems running at the same time. We have the old legacy financial system and we have the crypto system. And they're fighting each other, and we're building bridges between the two. That's how we get from crypto to fiat and back to pay our electric bill and use our Litecoin cards. And that's kind of what we teach at Crypto Confidential. Patrick does a whole series on living the crypto life because, I mean, he had to do it as a miner. He had to learn how to pay electric bills in Bitcoin way back when he was mining. So he's ahead of the curve there, and we talk about that a lot. But right now, we are bridging that gap until the other one crumbles and the new one's built up. But we're building the crypto financial system while like it's like changing the engine of a car while it's going around the track in the Daytona 500. It's not an
Yes.
easy thing to do. We're all working together as much as we can. There will be friction, but we will get there. And we're moving very, very fast. I mean, the adoption of Bitcoin moved twice as fast as the adoption of the internet the first 10 years. So it's crazy speed. It's crazy adoption, but we're tearing down an entire legacy system that's been there for 100 years or more. It's just the US system. The Federal Reserve started in 1913, so we got 109 years almost that we're just trying to combat, plus beyond that. But the most prosperous the U.S. was ever was in the 1880s and 1890s. But we gloss over that in history because of the way the books were written. It's just
Right. They don't
really
want you to know about that.
they don't want you to know. So we're building anew because we're back. I mean, it's the fourth turning. It's every 80 years something monumental happens, and this has been another 80 years since World War II. So back 80 years before that was the Civil War. Back 80 years before that was the birth of our country. So every 80 years is something large, and there's a revolutionary type event. And that's kind of where we're at. While the powers that be try to hold on as much as they can, putting new people in charge that with no legal authority, but they say, oh, that's okay, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
No.
Insane. Completely insane. There was a article that came out last night, and I shared it to Jean-Claude and Snippy while they were live, that the Credit Suisse bank, there was a leak, and they have exposed like these. I think it's going to end up being probably one of the single largest transfers of wealth, because it'll either get seized, um, or I don't know how it's going to play out. But let me see if I can share this. Let's see. Share screen. This is the article, and it talks about the Credit Suisse leaks and mass criminals, fraudsters, and corrupt politicians. This is a 80 billion pounds held in the Swiss bank. The whistleblower leaked the bank's data to expose immoral secrecy laws. Clients include human traffickers and a billionaire who orders his girlfriend's murder. Vatican-owned accounts used to spend over 350 million euros in allegedly fraudulent investments. Scandal hit Credit Suisse rejects allegations and may be in rogue bank. So it goes on to talk about, and you can find this article. I put it for all my patrons got this last night. But they're talking about drug trafficking, money laundering, corruption, other serious counts, crimes of corruption. Detail accounts linked to 30,000 Credit Suisse clients all over the world contained in the links. So it was more than 100 billion Swiss francs. What are your thoughts on when things like this are released and how this would affect the market?
Well, I think we need more of these types of news stories. I don't think either you or I are surprised, but I think we need for
Yeah.
the normies to read this stuff and say this is like, hey, you know how remember hearing those stories about that you have a Swiss bank account and you can hide all your privacy? No one ever thought about what could be done as a result of that. Well, this story kind of leads itself to that if you think about it. Unfortunately, we don't have too many critical thinkers anymore that can put things together. So we kind of have to shove it in their face and just like, look at this. Like, look,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, the mainstream media is not going to do that. So we have to keep the more articles that these pop up, the more that people can catch their attention. Because I give the analogy of vultures, right? So when you see a vulture circling something, like, wonder what that vulture is doing. But if you wonder what's there, but you see 10 circling a spot, you don't need to see what's underneath them. You know,
Right.
something is dead there. It's probably the dollar or something else, but you don't, with enough indirect evidence, you can start to see what the real story is without actually having to dig into it. So we need 10 or 12 more of these and more of them to get it into visibility of as many people as possible.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how one of the executive orders when Trump was president was that when if people are involved in crimes against humanity, human trafficking, this kind of things, that their assets would be seized,
That was the
and
first one he signed.
brought into the treasury. So if this is all being done, I mean, it just makes me wonder what all is happening on a grand scale. The other thought that I had was, we've been talking about, we're having this constitutional education, and I always thought it was about America, and now we're watching. I was on my friend Sol Rita's channel talking about crypto, and she's wanting to bring crypto to her community, and so I got to talk about crypto on her channel. And she's in Australia, and she was talking about how she loved my patriotic view. And I said, but I'm seeing this in Canada now. And I wouldn't have formerly thought of calling a Canadian a patriot, but I think there's this new movement globally of the word patriot, or we're seeing it in humanity kind of all over. And one of the things with Crypto Confidential, and you helped me see this, and one of the things, I can't remember I don't know which video I was on, and you were in the chat and you were like, you don't have to be you can still have dual citizenship and be proud to be an American or something like that. I can't remember what you wrote, but it was something about the education through Crypto Confidential about, being smart with your assets. Um, but you can still be a patriot and do the right thing for your country and pay Caesar what is Caesar's and do things
Yeah,
legally
you
and
can
all that.
protect your assets and you can put them into any legal entity and have them go through a global entity or a different country if you want, and still live where you can be a U.S. citizen, but have an international company and be
Yeah.
paid through an international company. So that's a definite possibility that people don't educate themselves or don't know about these things because our educational system is meant to teach you how to get into the current system and be
Yeah.
a worker bee for the people that are all at the top. So that's the
And
nicest way I could say it.
I think that was very eloquently put. Very, very nice. Well, I want to make sure we touch on where to find you, where the best places are to find you. Well, that's not it. That is your logo.
Yeah. So you
Like
can,
I
whenever you
had your,
share, I'll talk
yeah,
to it.
I have your channel pulled up. Hold on a second. Oh, your website.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm trying to go to your website is what I'm attempting to do right now. Share screen. Here we go. There we go. Let's try that one. Um, so you've got your website is probably the best place to start, and they can kind of find everything from there. They can go to your Patreon there and go to your YouTube from there.
Right. And there's the interview I did with Ninja, and I'm starting to do,
Yeah.
obviously, we're interviewing lots of people, but I have four main locations that people can find me. There's my free website, which is litecoinleader.com. There's my free YouTube, which is litecoinleader.io, so it's an easy find, also from my homepage. Both of them are coming up on a year's anniversary on April 1st. Can't believe it's been a year to that already, or almost. And then the other two places are Viva and Crypto Confidential. I do have a Telegram group, but I'm sorry. So you got the first two that are free. You have my website and the YouTube. The third is my Patreon site, which has two levels. For the $5, just get the content, or $20 if you want to join the monthly AMA. And then the fourth level is Crypto Confidential, and that's where you get everything. So you could still book an appointment with me, but I think the most cost-effective thing going forward and most simpler, like I'm trying to reduce the fractured world that we all live in and try to get everybody into one spot. So ideally, everybody's in Crypto Confidential at some point. But there are certain things that go beyond where Crypto Confidential is, and it's in its infancy. It's only a month old now. So we still have things that we do on the Patreon. And Joanna, who helped build the website you're looking at, and also helps me on Patreon. We have other things that we can contribute about, like how to get yourself prepared for whatever. If we're going to live in the 1800s style, what do you need to do to be prepared, just in case, like having silver or talking about silver or knowing how to grow things or so on. Just not to become like a crazy prepper, burying a bus in the desert and be ready to bug out. I'm not at that stage yet, but if you want to know certain things and be prepared, it's for $5 a month. Go on my Patreon site and you can find a bunch of stuff there. If you want to have interaction, that's the next level at $20. And then the rest of like you have the Crypto Confidential, which is where I'm touching that site a couple times a day. We interact there. I'm always on the forums, and we do 2 AMAs a month. So I do 4 AMAs a month, one free for YouTube, one on my Patreon, and 2 for Crypto Confidential. So
Yeah. And if you guys want to join the Crypto Confidential, I've got my link in the description. I jumped on the AMA this last week, and it was a lot of fun. They had great information, and Michelle was on there, Omar was on there, Patrick was on, and Jeff were all on live. And so you could ask questions. You had all of these experts there at your fingertips. We could ask all these questions and get answers. And we had the community all there. We got to see each other's faces. When I wasn't eating, I did have my screen up for a little while because I was finishing dinner, but then took it off and got to visit with everybody and say hi and jump in. So I'm excited to be part of that community as well.
We're excited to have you. I mean, the community is the biggest driving factor to have everybody there. And one thing I'll mention about the AMAs, if you can't make it, we try to make it as convenient as possible. It's usually 7:30, 8 o'clock at night on East Coast time. If you can't make it, you can always leave a question in the forum, or you could post one early and we come back and address those questions. So it's not like if you can't make it, you can't be a participant in it. And it's always recorded and shared later on. So there's always that aspect too.
Definitely. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I've got to tell you, like, I've learned something from each person that I've met at Crypto Confidential. I've had private talks with everybody on the team and have had something taken away and have benefited my life from each person. So it's definitely been something that I'm really thankful for. I'm thankful to be a part of. So
It's great to
thank
hear
you
that. And
so
of
much.
course, the
Yeah.
top 10 coins are doing well too. And in fact, the one coin, if you jumped in on that on February 1st, you would have paid for your
Yeah.
subscription. But I
Yeah.
mean, we did 42% in 2 weeks. That's not bad. That's a good start. Obviously, we've taken a little bit of hit like everybody else the last couple of days, but things are going pretty good. But the community is really the most driving force. And another big about the community is the forum. We started an area that was like your crypto journey, and people are sharing their journeys. And it's from
Hmm.
people all different levels. We have Lauren, who's the community member. She's the manager of the site. She's really new to crypto. So Patrick and I are helping her to get along. But I shared a journey about how I'm getting into DeFi and liquidity pools because I hadn't done that before. So even with somebody that's been in crypto for 6 years, there's always something new to do. There's lots to learn. And you can you can feel overwhelmed very easily, even if you have a lot of experience. So the community is what it's all about. That way we can all share with one another.
I love it. And I'm all about community. And we've got a great community here in the chat that shows up to a lot of our shows. That's why I try to do the show live, just because I love the community that we have, and we're trying to get it back out on the road to meet up with as many people as we can. And I'm hoping that I'm already committing you because I'm pretty sure you're coming
I'm
to
coming.
the meetup here in Oklahoma City on March 25th. You and Patrick,
We will be
I've
there.
heard. Yes. Okay. Well, so that'll be a lot of fun. I hope to have more people join us. Um, we're going to have it at my local gun club, and we can shoot early in the morning or for lunch, and then meet up and have some great food and drinks and do a happy hour after that. So um, it should be a great day. And then Bitcoin Day is the next day down at the river. They've got a beautiful place at the boat club. So it's going to be a great weekend, March 25th and 26th. I'm glad you're going to be joining us. So, um, well, I guess we'll just have everybody check out all the links in the description. Like I said, I've got all of Jeff's information and the link to check out Crypto Confidential and join us in the community there. I'm telling you, it's so worth it, and great resource, great community to be a part of. And I hope you guys will join us. So we'll see you next time on The New Normal. Thanks. Hey guys, I forgot to tell everybody, run over to Jeff's channel right now on YouTube because he's live next. Okay? See ya.
See you there. Thanks,
Bye.
Lisa.